Okay. Um, Hi everyone. Let's start our call. The first agenda item is the implementation needs. So Derek, do you want to take lead on this item? So this is mainly just to hear from you what has been going on for the past week, and also the implementation plan for the lab study. Derek? Derek, you're on mute in case you're talking.
Okay, hi all. Yeah,
Hi.
what has been taking place? Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, now what has been taking place previously has been testing of forms, and our main focus previously was the lack behavior assessment tools that includes the linkage forms together with the retention forms. And we got to a place and said maybe all this was okay with the LAC team. The main testers were Kirwa Lagat, Kennedy, and Rotich Jackson, and they did approve that the forms were right. And what we did was now requesting the system administration team here, informatics team at Ampath, to put the forms on production server, of which we've done that as the ticket number LAC 20 says. The forms are on production, and I myself has tested the forms on production using my device, and I would say it's working. Also, Eda did finish up the costing form, of which I had put it earlier on test server, but following her advice, I changed and put the device on the form on VAC VM this morning, and the RAs are also working on that. They are testing the form. They haven't given me any feedback yet. So Rotich Jackson, together with the other two RAs, will be working on the costing form and will give us a final report of whether they ask what they need, or maybe if any changes will come in. That means I'll post any of those to the ticket, or I'll also do the same on mail to the other team. So far, the LAC BA tools are on the production server, and also the HTML registration form that was edited by Savai. We have also embarked on a training. I did trainings for the LAC CHVs. They were 29 in number in total, and we did training while pointing the devices on the mUzima test server, and we were able to submit several number of forms, both the linkage form and the retention forms on the test server. And what we now doing is, like what we're doing today, is we are planning to start pointing the devices on production. But before then, I created a ticket number 20, LAC 20, that I was asking for the cohorts.
Yeah, so Derek, I just responded for LAC 20. Thanks for filing the ticket. So as you remember that we're still waiting for the information from you and your team that whether the registration form and the CDM screening form data has been entered into AMS production. If those, we still need that piece information from you to say yes they are, or no they is not, because we're still waiting for the piece whether we need to include those as part of the criteria for the cohort. Because right now, without those information, we can only base on the criteria that anyone who fill out the linkage and retention form would be in the cohorts based on the committee unit. So it seems like you guys are waiting for us. Actually, we're waiting for you guys.
Okay, I hear you. I would say that there's nothing else maybe that has ever been entered by CDM team to production server. that calls now. If I may ask Eda, would you like me to respond on the ticket, or maybe I can do a mail to the whole team?
Yeah, I think it's good to do it both. You remember that there was like a one email thread that we're still waiting for this piece of information. Is please respond to there, and also update the ticket saying that those are not in the AMRS production, so we cannot include those as part of the cohort criteria. I just don't want to have confusion because you know, the team think that it's really on our side, but actually we're waiting for them to confirm.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to respond that as the call continues. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah, can I continue?
Yes, please.
So according to the plans that are here back in Kenya, we are planning that if we have the cohort created and we hook we point the devices on production server, that means by either over this weekend or by Monday. Then on Tuesday, as the plan is planned by the LAC team, is that on Tuesday we need to do or have a hands-on experience with the CHVs in the field while they'll be doing live data collection and transmission to the production server and submission of the data to the production server. That means a number of CHVs, apart from a number of the 29, will be with them in the field seeing the patients on Tuesday next week. That is if we'll have the cohort ready and I have downloaded the forms from production and pointed the devices on production.
Okay, so can I go back to ask one question about the registration form? You mentioned earlier that it's ready. So is that registration form loaded to AMR's production yet?
Yeah, it's on production.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's as per what has been happening. Maybe what's only remaining amongst the remaining issues or blockers would be only the cohort.
Yeah, so I think it's important for us to make sure that when you upload the new registration form to AMR's production, is there a new form ID created associated with this registration form? Because we don't want to share the same form ID with the old registration form.
Okay, so do you mean that we create another new?
Yeah, form ID.
We create another new form ID.
Correct. The core form ID, yeah.
Okay, the cohort form ID.
It's not cohort, core. The OpenMRS core form ID.
I hear you.
Can we make sure that, and then we document on the wiki, because I think it's important for us to make sure that all this are set up correctly before the actual rollout.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah, so far so good. I would also take an opportunity to thank the whole team from Win, Switha, Savai, you, Eda, Martin, Were, Vikas, myself, and any other person that I forgot out there. But thank you for the good work that you guys are doing. And let's continue. My spirits are high, ready to do.
Awesome.
Cool. So far, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for the teamwork.
Sure.
So is Lawrence on the call?
Lawrence was out in the field in Busia. I don't know whether he's going to join.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in. Say hi, Lawrence.
Hi.
Yeah, just I know that you mentioned some other implementation needs. I just wonder if you can share with us.
I really don't think I have anything to add on. Main issue was the registration form from the last call, which I had proposed to have on production, but I guess that's been done by Derek already. So that's a big step forward. And then for the CDM screening form, we think there was a bit of movement last week. We forwarded it to you, and then there's been back and forth questions from Raj, and we're waiting for Kamano's response on that. And I was able to do a ticket with Todd this morning, and we added, I think, the entire group as watchers on that ticket.
Okay, so I did file a ticket yesterday for the screening form version 0.02. I just make a note that saying that it's not we're not going to start the programming task until you guys tell us the form is frozen and there's no more changes to the content and the logic. So so I know that the last email saying that we need some clarification from Dr. Camano. So you guys need to let us know when that form is ready for programming again.
Yes, we'll do that. And that's to follow up with a call with Kamano just to get it.
Yeah, and I think there's like a couple new questions that you probably need the form and concept team to help as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So Simon, Stephen, do you guys have anything to add in terms of implementation needs?
No, I don't think I have anything for now.
Okay.
For me, what I could say is, I think this time around, we've tried to take care of most of the things that probably went wrong during the Metronics rollout. So, like whatever Erica just said, I think kudos to the entire team for the kind of effort they have put into this successful rollout.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, guys. So, Martin, do you have anything to add or comment before we move to the next agenda item?
No, Ed, I don't have any comment. Thanks.
Cool. So let's move to the next agenda item. Hold on a second. The next one is to expand the cohort, and I know that Simon has been spending quite a bit of efforts on that project, and just want Simon to give us a work in progress update or any roadblocks or anything that he needs to discuss.
Yeah, I've been working on the expanded cohort module, and so far I'm working on the interface that I discussed last time that will allow us to define the criteria for a cohort. So far I looked at the cohort builder module. The way it's been defined, and I found out that in the latest version, there is a class which I'm reusing to simplify my work, and this class is a service actually that has a method for generating a cohort if you give it an SQL definition of the criteria. So I've done it up to that point and tested it's working. I'm able to generate new code and add to what was existing previously. So that what I'm looking at in the final implementation, we shall be defining a cohort using the cohort builder. That would be a static cohort. And then after that, in my new interface, we shall be able to define the criteria and maybe provide a switch, like a flag, whether we should run the weekly schedule for this cohort or not. So I'm hoping to be done. Last time I said early next week, and then it didn't work. But I'm hoping that by Tuesday I should be able to install the module for guys to have a look. So the module is depending on the cohort, the latest version of Cohort Builder, which is version 1.5.8. Though I saw on production server we have not installed the latest version. So that means once I'm done, we shall also want to upgrade. I mean the cohort builder on the on the production server if we shall install my new module. That's it, what I can say for now.
Thanks, Simon. So anyone have comments on the expanded cohort? If it's no, so let's just talk about the error resolution.
So could I just make a quick comment on the cohort stuff?
Yeah, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah. No, this is just to check what level of involvement winners had in it and whether the code and things like that have been looked at to just make sure everything is in order before they get merged.
Hey, Win.
I think the document, the design that we discussed last time, was only based on that one. The one that we discussed, Ada?
Yeah, it's the same project.
Yeah. And I think, Simon, you should put it, you should put the code out early so we can go through it.
Okay, so when I didn't get you, you mean I share the code that I'm working on?
Yeah, I think you should. I don't see it in the mUzima repository, so.
Okay. I have it on my account on. I think I've called the cumulative cohort. So maybe after this call, I will update to have the latest version, and then I can send out a link so that maybe you and anyone else can have a look.
Yeah, I think for future project, we should put it in mUzima if it's related to mUzima, because folks can see what the commit and then see what's going on with the progress. I think that's just my comment, Simon.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I think I checked. I didn't have rights to create module, I think, on mUzima. But let me check after this. Maybe if I have a challenge, I can communicate to you.
Sure. Thanks, Simon. Just let us know if you need different rights.
Okay.
Cool. So last week we talked about the form error data resolution. The original plan, we say we just do it in 2 phases, but I think I want to break it down into 3 phases, just more focused on the individual message page. So the first one today that I want to talk about is the phase 1. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, Ada, we can see.
Okay, good, cool. So the first, so pretty much is that so I document the background information on the MPath wiki already. So anyone interested, please feel free and go and take a look and give us comment whether it really meets your needs or not, especially for the implementation team, because you guys will be the one who are going to use it the most. This is really for you. This is based on what we discussed for the past couple of weeks, and please spend some time, just go to that page to make sure that we really capture what you guys need. In phase 1, while we're loading for the page, let's just look at like 4 tickets that we break down into, Vikas is going to help us to take lead on taking care of those tickets. So Vikas, do you want to walk through those tickets? So and then just so that we kind of like triage the tickets, make sure we have sufficient information for you, you can go ahead and start programming. Because
Yeah, sure. I will go through the document and we can start this discussing about Jira tickets.
Yeah, I just want to go through those tickets just to make sure that it's any clarification we can provide right now, so that it's less confusing when you start.
Okay. So this is basically reformatting the JSON value which we are showing in error data. So actually here we have the different types of representation for showing the JSON values. One of them is in a tabular format and second one is in a tree format. So so this, if we can confirm which format will be good, so I can go ahead and start implementing 244. So can I share my desktop? I have already done the tree structure.
Yes, please. Can I stop sharing?
Can you guys see my desktop?
Yes. Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. So previously, as you can see there, it was it, it was some data, JSON data with one line. It was there. So I have modified little bit, and it will show something like this. Still, some work needs to be done, like collapsing the patient and those things. So let me open the older way. I think so. Basically, it will display the complete JSON value without formatting that JSON data. So it is like this. It is very difficult to read and identify. So the better way, what I found is we can have something like this, which is more audible and to identify what is the problem with this JSON. Because of that, it got stuck in queue. So this is all about this Jira. The first is
Yeah. So let me ask. Yeah. So maybe on the next ticket, we will talk about the processor. Yeah. You write the processor.
So, a quick question from just what Vic has displayed. Is everybody okay with that format? Are you guys all happy with it? Before we go to the processor.
Yeah, I think
Is it going to support nested element as well, Vikas? Because I think there's going to be inside the obs, especially, it's going to be there's a few obs going to be nested with another obs.
Yes, when actually I wrote a code in such a way so it can have a multiple concept. So as you can see, the last two, it is having more observation inside the observation inside.
I think I'm okay with this one. I don't know what about other folks.
I think this is easy to see. I think my concern is like once we are in the edit view, should that editable text area should be on side by side instead of like on the bottom? because it becomes quite long if it's you know, the original text is displayed on the top, and then the editable text area on the bottom. So we do like a side by side when they click on the edit, put it in the edit mode.
Means the edit mode for this complete patient, or is an individual field?
Yeah, so let's say that for the same message, just for this page, let's say that we put it in the edit mode. Let's say there's an error on the patient section, there's another error on the observation section, let's say that. So maybe we should just wait for your, you know, updates on the next couple ticket, because I think it will show on the next couple tickets.
Okay.
I think, are we agree on this approach first, or should we look for other structure before we moving to the next one? One comment probably is going to be, if we have this long structure, I mean, I like the way we display it right now, like this one. Is it possible to have the scroll inside, so you make the div have some scroll bar in it instead of scrolling the entire page, Vikas?
Yeah, we can have similar to this one. Means
Yeah, I was wondering if it's possible to.
Sorry, we cannot. Yeah, well.
I'm wondering if you can make the JSON only scrollable, not the entire page scrollable.
Oh yeah, we can do it. We can do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you talking about like per session, like within patient, within encounter, scrollable, especially?
No. Just within this page, make the JSON scrollable. That way you don't lose the navigation on the left side if you want to see the full JSON page. I don't know. I mean, if you...
I think
I was just worried that you need to scroll all the way down and up again to get to the navigation page. Or you can say at the bottom, at the end of the page, you can say go back to top or something like that. I mean,
it will be good if we can make this area as a scrollable.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yep. Apart from that, we can have some more option like plus button here in a patient and plus button in a encounter, so user can collapse that particular JSON value.
Yeah, if we can do that, then I think that would be a good one to have as well.
Yep.
I don't know what about the others. I mean, I like the way it is currently displayed like this.
I think to me it looks fine. So with Eda's proposal to have the editable field appearing on the side to this one, is it going to come in the same format, or the editable one will be different? Because
sorry, could you please come again?
So like currently we're just viewing the JSON, but in the different elements. So are we editing in the same window, or we're going to have a different window that's going to be on the side to allow for editing?
For editing, we have one ticket. It says it should display the original JSON as it is.
Yes.
So I think we have to have something kind of different a different way of editing. Like I thought of editing in the same page, like here giving a little pencil icon. When you click on that, all the fields will become editable. But we already have one ticket which says we have to display the original JSON for the reference.
Okay.
So I have actually not given a thought on the edit page how it should look like.
Right.
Yes. So, Vikas, just to make sure I understand,
Yes.
are you saying that on the edit page, the payload should look like we had it originally in that unreadable format? Maybe I'm confused.
Uh, Actually, when we suppose we want to edit this patient data, so just for the reference, we have to have the original JSON which got failed and got stuck on queue. So we need to figure out how the UI should be. It's in a pretty much initial state. So I need to think about it how the edit page should look like.
Yeah, Chief, to explain, I think we discussed about this last week. Like, when you want to edit, we want to also display the original one as a reference. So when you make changes, you know what you have before you make the changes.
So
So I
UI
think Vikas is still trying to figure out where to put like the edit and the original data when we want to edit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
you're correct. Yeah.
Okay. Could I ask a little bit of a technical question here? Is it possible, obviously from the error you can tell, which element potentially has a problem. Is it possible to highlight that in this display, or it's just too much difficulty from a programming standpoint for the value you'll get by doing that? So for example, it says unable to find user using ID 336-5,
Yep.
and a typical user will be saying, or at least somebody trying to resolve the error, are we talking about provider IDs, which look obviously different there? Most likely that is the last item, right?
Yeah.
At the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So the question is it possible to make it easier to just highlight which field has an error? Just curious.
Oh.
So Martin, we're taking it into
Yeah.
different phases because right now, let's say that even for the current processor, the validator, it only detect the first error and then it immediately throw it into the error queue. So let's say that even this JSON has multiple errors, it only tell you one problem. So step one is to update the validator to, to identify all the possible errors from the same message. And the second is to have some, to reformat the JSON into more readable format, and then have some kind of text area for it to update. And we also talk about highlighted, the specific error message, so that they know which field need attention and things like that. So we thought that we'll put it on the phase 2, but because we just want to put, kind of proof of concept that it's working well, like with the basic elements first. But if you guys think that we need to include the highlighted features in phase 1, we can also rearrange.
Yeah. The question is just how much work will it take? So if the Vikas or Win say, hey, it's actually relatively easy to do that in a lot of cases, then we should just go ahead and do it. But if they're saying, it's not going to be as reliable, then you can probably move it to another phase. So that was actually my question, is just how much work would that take?
I see. I think it's more a question for Win and Vikas.
Yes.
I mean, for this one, I think we can hack around it, because what we have in the error message is we don't have the field information yet, which field inside the JSON is throwing the exception. Right now, what we have is just like generic text string, just like this one, unable to process queue data due to unable to find user using the ID something. We potentially can hack around this and then get the message and then get the last part and then just highlight inside the JSON for that last part. And I'm not quite sure about the library being used by Vikas to display the JSON, but they could potentially have a highlighter plugin or something and then pass the element from the error message.
If somehow we are able to capture the for which field that error message is, highlighting will not be the problem. The main thing is when error is where error occurred, we have to capture the proper information for this field because of this reason, and error has occurred. So by using that, we will be able to identify and we can highlight that because of this particular field this JSON got stuck on queue. So it's more all changing the structure of the processor, how it is actually working, and storing the error message into error data.
So I think that the handler itself needs to be changed to actually have this feature where it is able to track which particular field in the JSON is the one that is causing the error. And like Ada said, I think the current implementation of the handler basically just fails the very first time it finds an erroneous data. So for example, if you have 10 erroneous JSON data, it will pretty much list the very first one that it encounters. So it needs changes on the handler side in the sense that we should be able to capture multiple errors if there are multiple errors in the form, and list which particular field or which element was the one that caused the error. So these changes need to be made. Apart from the UI, there's also changes in the handler that have to happen. So we have to factor in how much time it will take for those changes as well.
Okay, Shweta, that helps. And so, given that the handler is going to be changed to be able to do the multiple errors, it would seem to me that figuring out all the other details that need to be handled would make sense as part of the work plan. And then we can figure out, we can decide, do we do some of those now or do we do some of those later based on the time?
Right. So I think basically what Vikas wanted to do today is just show you guys the UI mockup. So nothing is actually coded on the back end. It's just to get a sense of how the user expects the data to be shown to him, to see if it's easy for them to solve errors and make modifications, edit data that's incorrect, stuff like that. And I think this is still a work in progress, so maybe by next week sometime we'll have the complete mock-up ready for you guys, and we'll share it on the dev groups and email you guys a snapshot of the screen. So if you guys are okay with that, we can start coding the actual stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, so right now we pretty much just to throw in like a mock-up UI, very initial one, just to get a sense how it looks like, because sometimes it's really hard to comment when you don't see something. That's why Wickes is so kind to help us to mock up something, just to start the discussion and conversations. Whether you like it, you don't like it, one or the other.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page, and we knew this was a mock-up, so we appreciate it.
Yeah, so that's why we said, make sure the mock-up UI looks fine before the actual coding starts, yeah. And also we want to make sure that the handler actually identify, all the possible errors at the same time instead of like doing one by one, which is very time consuming. We just don't want, especially if we use some kind of manual effort with editing or fixing those errors. We just don't want to go through like many times as a loop. That's the reason we want to focus more efforts on that part first. And then for other cosmetic thing, if it's not too much time, it's good to include in the initial phase. But if it's taking so much time, we just think it makes more sense for us to put it in the later phase.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. So this is the second Jira we have for the phase 1. So it's the same, that it detects only the first occurrence of the error, and we need to rewrite this processor, so it should identify all the JSON related error, and it should display on error data page. So this is basically, it will include, I think, all the exceptions as well as the validation issues related to the JSON form data. Is it correct, Ada?
Yeah, that's correct. Hey, Win, do you want to make a comment about, for the first phase, we put all the errors into one column in the database. So what is the next phase? How you envision?
Yeah, I think for the next phase, we'll need, either we put it in the first phase or the second phase, I don't know. So what we want to do is we need to have, so one error record in the database will have multiple properties of field, that erroring field, the erroring value, and then I think the error reason. For example, like we have the location ID, and then the value is 9999, and then the reason for the error potentially going to be unknown location for the location ID or something like that. So because right now what we have is just one blob of string, and it's going to be difficult to, for example, to highlight elements inside the JSON that throwing the exception. But I think if we have the one error message with multiple associated erroring field and with the extra information, I think we can, when we display the error queue, we can query the property for the error queue element, and then for each erroring reason, you can highlight it, and potentially on hover you display the reason this is erroring, or this formatted multiple way.
So are you saying that let's say in one JSON, 5 errors, and then you want to have 5 entries necessarily in the database, highlighted those added elements, and on another column, the reason why, so that it gives you more motivation to figure out, let's say that the summary, like
yeah, something like that. So it's gonna be a mapping of one error queue element to n error reason row in a separate table. Sweta and Vikas, would that help you guys in potentially displaying the error message, or do we need something else?
In case of JSON form data error message, it is pretty straightforward that we can have multiple rows, well, multiple properties for same queue data. But in case of exception, like IO exception or some other exception, will not be having any entry for that. In that scenario, what error message we should display in form error data?
I'm sorry, what was it? Exception when
Exception like a server is down, or some exception which is not, we have not mentioned on our error column. So
I
it,
think for
it,
that, yeah, go ahead, Vikas.
so what error message it should display? So,
I think for that type of situation, we will have just one row and just saying generically unable to process, and then the field will be null and the value is going to be null. And then the reason is going to be unable to process. And then there will be no highlighting in the or any extra information.
it will be pretty much generic error message for exception kind of error message.
I think so. What about the others? Any thought on this?
When I just wanted to clarify, are you saying that whenever there's a JSON, whenever there's error in the JSON that you encounter, you're going to save it in the database with different rows and columns, which says like columns like this is the field that was an error, the reason for the error, and what else? Is that how we are going to do it?
That what I was thinking to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I can mock up the relation, like the entity document, and then we can discuss further after this call over email.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with this approach we'll be able to tackle both of the issues that we were facing, which is the handler reports a very first error and does not go on to process the remaining JSON data to check for other errors that could be there. And it gives a 1:1 mapping between the data and the error for that particular field. So yeah, I agree.
Okay, so next one is 247. This is basically having one edit button on a page, which allows the user to edit the existing JSON form data and validate it. I think this is only for editing the JSON value with the text boxes. So this is pretty much straightforward, I think.
Yep.
So I have a question here. Let's say that after the first we show the JSON that has error data on it, and then we also highlight which fields have errors on it, and we also give the user option of editing the data that was incorrect. So when we hit save, do we need to run the validation again?
Yes. We have another ticket after this.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think that should be captured so that, and then we save, and I think it gets put back on the queue again.
That's
so I
correct.
don't know if we have to wait as long as again hitting the handler and opening up the erroneous, or we just want the user at that point of time.
So what I have in mind is that we should have another validation after you click save. Do the validation check. After the validation check pass, and then you can put it to the queue for queuing again for processing. If during this phase that it has identified any more error, it will just pop up. Not to, you have to revise first or put in queue, put back to the error queue again, and
Right. But I see one drawback with this with doing it this way, because see, in the long run, it's the handler which actually flags all this error. So that's one place where all the errors get caught, right? So by offering validation again, just before when you hit save, you're pretty much duplicating the effort. See what I'm saying? I don't know, there's a trade-off. Like we could allow the user to save it and then put it back on the error. So that's doesn't change a lot of the process. But if we do a validation again at this step after the user corrects or edits the data and tries to save, it's duplication of the same validation and of data. So I don't know if you really want to do that.
Yeah, my justification to have this validation here before it put into the queue for processing again is that because it requires quite a lot of human time on manually viewing and editing all these errors. So if there's any errors contained in the message, I would prefer that it can detect immediately before it put back to the queue for processing, because let's say that someone say, oh, I swear I take care of 50 messages yesterday, but now you're saying that I did not do it, because like some of them actually still continue to have error even after the editing and things like that. I think it just add more workload for the implementers. That's how I see it, but I'm open for any suggestions.
I think I agree with you, Eda.
I think we should just go with the assumption that it would probably be easy to do, and I agree, Ida, from the user point of view, it's definitely easier to get notified as soon as or as early as possible instead of waiting for the handler to fire off again and getting notified of the error message again. That could be a bit of a pain, because even after you edit and you save and it keeps showing up in the error queue, it's not a good thing to happen.
Yeah,
so
yeah. I just want to reduce the burden on the users, but I do understand your point, Shrita, that it seems like it's a duplicate efforts, but with most of the implementation, they have like limited like resources and human resources, and I think just try to reduce the burden on them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we'll just take a call then when we'll update the Jira accordingly as to which route we chose to go.
That would be good to hear from other members what they think, which way they prefer.
I'd agree with Eda and I think Lawrence from a user standpoint.
Listen to the user.
Yeah, sorry, we can go ahead.
No, go ahead, Chief. I was just saying we should listen to the user.
Okay, so in this first phase we have this 4 tickets. just to remind, first one is for the reformatting the JSON data, and for I will create the UI mockup for this one. Then we'll rewrite the processor for fetching identify all the errors and display it on page. Then third one would be editing the text, and the fourth one will be the validating the edited JSON form data. So Eda, the priority wise, it will be from top to bottom.
Yeah. Could I ask one thing
Go ahead.
before we do priorities? You know, when you're doing error resolution, sometimes you actually can't resolve the error right there and then, especially if the data was done by someone in the field, okay? And you have the quality people kind of doing the quality checks. So oftentimes maybe you have to call the person who filled that form, and they get to you and say, well, I'll give you this information. So you know, is there any way, at least to me it seems like it would make sense to just document where the error resolution stands, almost, you know, not like, okay, this person called, said he'll get back to me in this period of time, okay? And then once you get to a place where you can resolve the error, then the error gets resolved through the mechanism we've discussed. No, I think there's value in having a place to keep those types of notes. I don't know what other team members think. Because let's say tomorrow I made the call and I left, and somebody else is responsible for taking over, following up on that error. They wouldn't know what was done.
I think what Martin suggests is to add like save the draft version of the edit. Let's say that there might be like 5 errors, and then they fix 2, and then the other 3 they don't know. They need some time to investigate, and then they can save this as a temporary thing, and then they can come back to retrieve, and also have like a note session, just maybe the status of the ticket. I mean, of the error. Sorry, something like that. Is it what you want? You have in mind, Martin?
Yes, or basically, as Win is saying, there's almost a commenting system, or yeah, ticketing comment type of thing. Win, maybe you can explain it better. You understood what I was trying to say.
I guess what we're saying is probably, Martin, you can correct me. I think it's in a way putting some notes in the error, so you can add like one note. It, in a way, it looks like how Microsoft Word can allow you to highlight a certain part of the your text inside the Word document, and then you can put a note on that section only. But that could be in the future if we want to go fancy with the highlighting, I think. But for this pass, I think what Martin wants is if you go to the error resolution, you can see a list of comments for this particular error. For example, oh, on this date and that date, I called this person and he said so and so, or something like that. It's similar to how we comment on Jira.
Now we can prioritize it for later, but I think a feature like that actually helps quite a bit, especially if people have to go and contact individuals to get that information.
Yep, I can see a value on that one.
Okay, I don't know if Vikas wanted to walk through the priorities. But we have another call, I think, right now also.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much in the priority is pretty much in order 1 to 1 to 3. So I think it's important to get the first one mock-up agreed by the team and whether it makes sense before we move on to the others.
Yeah, sure.
Okie dokie. So any more comment before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, sounds good to me. And on the other items, ending the hand let's just make sure that they're part of the work and that. Okay.
I could not.
Yeah, no, for some of the things that have been done now, let's just make sure that we know that they are part of the future to-dos. That way they don't get dropped.
Yeah, we can update on the wiki page on those suggested features, and then so we don't forget about those items. Not necessarily we need to implement immediately, but something in future we need to keep in mind.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Thanks everyone. Thanks for the Kenyan guys.
Thanks everyone. Have a good weekend.
Eda.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I was trying to think through the process of like the form resolution, and I was trying to imagine what happens to a form that's probably duplicated during submission.
So that is a feature on the Android side that when a user enters the same form template on the with the same encounter date, it has a warning. So we already have a reminder on the Android side for that. However, we don't force people not to proceed because it's possible that for whatever reason the encounter form can be entered more than twice for the same encounter date, because this is really implementation specific. We don't want to make like one rule fit all. So what we did is more like a warning on the Android side. However, we are not because different implementation have different needs. So we just let the implementation to decide. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I actually appreciate that check on the application side, but I was just trying to imagine if I'm doing the error resolution and I outrightly can tell these two forms are actually duplicates. Does that mean I have to resolve both of them through the process we'll have in place, and then go and void it from the other side, like from the dashboard?
Yeah, I think that would be the proper procedure, because it's true that two messages got sent and processed into the database. So we still want to keep the historical data in the sense that both of them are there, and then you go back to the regular dashboard to void one of them.
Okay, it's a painful one, but it's okay.
But if you can think of like a better way to handle it, feel free to document on the wiki page. I think that would be good. But again, this is really implementation specific. We just don't want to have make something really strict for the rules and then actually prevent other implementation from moving forward. That's really good.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Please document on the wiki page if you have other. Thanks. Bye.